Thursday edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We are coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes on this Tuesday afternoon, where we will be with you for the next couple of hours unless the power goes out in Pulaski.
Which is always a possibility.
Without question. Talking sports of local, regional, and national importance. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Wade, you've got power now, and we're very grateful for it. How's your Tuesday?
Yeah, power for now. That's why I was in Nashville yesterday, Mo. I didn't want to leave anything to chance after all the tomfoolery we had last week. But, the bills are paid, and for now it looks like we're okay.
Knock on wood. Absolutely. Big show today. We will be visiting in the next hour with the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, talking all things MTSU. And, for the first week of July, there's a lot to talk about. So looking forward to having Chip on in the second hour. In our next segment, we will be joined by LANDEN SECREST, our NBA expert, because people keep telling us how great a pick Zach Edey was at 9 for the Grizzlies. And I just need to hear it from as many people as I can before I believe it, because I'm not sold. Wade, I know that you are getting closer to, but I still want to talk about that a little bit with LANDEN. And also, free agency has opened in the NBA, and there's been a couple of notable moves. So we're going to chat with LANDEN on that. We'll also be talking a little Braves, a little Astros. We may not want to talk too much about the Astros because they are really rolling right now, and we don't want to do anything to throw them off, but we'll get into that a little bit during our Brave/MLB segment. We've also got the grab bag where there's some folks calling for at least one coach's head. So we will get a little bit more into that. That'll also be in the second hour of the show. So again, big show. Should be a lot of fun. Definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Landon's going to fill us in on a lot. We've got Chip coming up. I mean, like you said, for July, there's a lot to talking about, a lot to get into. We talked about conference realignment yesterday. We're now less than 2 weeks, Mo, from the biggest event of the summer. The NCAA game is hot on the console trail, and in less than 2 weeks, we'll have the internet will be ablaze with online dynasty chatter. So we got to get out the real sports topics before everybody starts giving us updates on how their recruiting tactics have gone, right?
I have never been a big gamer, so I will leave that to you, and you can.
This will be the perfect time to jump in, man. We'll get the Main Street Sports Editor Dynasty going. I mean, I think this could be a lot of fun.
If embarrassing me is your idea of fun, then yeah, that would be it. But yeah, that is definitely going to be the rage here once it comes out. So we'll have to get some folks on. Maybe that'll be a good time to swing back to Matt Brown and get his thoughts on that. But there are plenty of thoughts out there as that time approaches. So should be fun. We laid out the show. Let's go ahead and jump into it and give you yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Buckle up, boys and girls. Time to give you guys yesterday's results. We start on the Major League Baseball diamond, where Houston defeated Toronto 3-1 as the Astros picked up the win to stay hot versus the Blue Jays. On the minor league diamond last night, it was the Sounds knocking off the Redbirds over in Memphis. Good win for the Sounds, 6-1 your final there. A couple of WNBA scores last night. Connecticut dispatching Phoenix 83-72. And then Seattle with another nice win. The Storm are coming on strong, folks, 95-71 as they knock off Dallas to cap not only your WNBA scoreboard, but all of our scoreboard last night.
Absolutely. Today's schedule at 6:07 Central Time. The Astros will continue their series north of the border against the Blue Jays. At 6:20, the Braves open their three-game series at Truist Park against the visiting San Francisco Giants. You can see that one on Bally Sports South. 7:05 at AutoZone down in Memphis. The Sounds and the Redbirds continue their short series. And in WNBA action tonight, 6 o'clock, the Lynx is at the Liberty. Also, the Sky is at the Dream. You can see that one on CBS Sports Network. 8:30, the Indiana Fever travels to Vegas, taking on the Aces. That one will be on ESPN. And at 9 o'clock on ESPN3, it's the Washington Mystics at the Los Angeles Sparks. And that is your rundown. Story brought to you as always by Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch items that are available until 6 p.m., as well as their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. Wade, if you want to buy the NBA champion Boston Celtics, you can start getting your piggy bank change together, because apparently the ownership group is putting that team up for sale. Intends to sell all of the shares of the team in 24 or early 25.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if I have enough pennies in that piggy bank to sniff what this thing is going to sell for. That was an interesting news story that came out for sure.
Let me bring some clarity to your question or to your answer. Boston Basketball Partners purchased the Celtics in 2002 for $360 million. Do you have that many pennies?
I don't even think I have that many pennies, no, let alone dollars. So it's not looking good. You're pricing me out before I could even get my hopes up really in this thing.
Again, they bought them for $360 million in 2002. Forbes recently valued the Celtics at $4.7 billion, the fourth highest value of an NBA franchise, behind Golden State at $7.7 billion, the Knicks at $6.6, and the Lakers at $6.4 billion. Although the Lakers may be going down these days, but at any rate, Celtics are going to be for sale. The ownership group writes they are committed to finding a worthy incoming ownership group who will guide the Celtics to more decades of success. There will be a thoughtful and thorough process to find a buyer that recognizes the importance of Celtic pride on the court and in the community. The Phoenix Suns sold for $4 billion last year. The Milwaukee Bucks were purchased by Jimmy and Dee Haslam, also owners of the Cleveland Browns, for $3.5 billion. Mark Cuban sold the majority of his shares in the Dallas Mavericks for $3.5 billion. I don't know. I guess that was a majority. Yeah. So that's the piggy bank ballpark, I guess.
Yeah, it's I mean, as we've talked about on the show, in terms of player salaries, you would presume that this is going to be maybe the biggest sale of a franchise ever, perhaps. Just kind of the way the market has kind of gone. And yeah, the Celtics ownership group, this obviously the timing of this is just what makes it especially notable, right? And they have the third highest payroll in the entire NBA. Saw a great meme yesterday. Hey, they just gave every player on the roster the bag and said, you know what? That ain't our problem. We'll let the luxury tax, fall to the next guys, right? You get a check, full Oprah mode, and everybody else is going to have to deal with the ramifications, but not us.
Yeah. And I mean, they've won a championship. They're trying to win some more, I guess. And yeah, Jason Tatum was one of the recipients thereof, I guess. 5-year, $314 million Supermax extension. So they're spending like sailors on leave, as they say. And I guess, like you said, they're going out the door, so they don't really care. But it's interesting. And I guess if you're going to sell a team, coming off of a championship is the best time to do it, right?
I mean, you would think your value is about as high as it's potentially going to get, and the franchise, you know, this is the crazy part. You mentioned Golden State. Obviously, so much of this is kind of tied up into, you know, where the city and the franchise sit in terms of their ownership agreement with the stadium and all kinds of just weird variables. So I don't know any of that in regards to Boston. But just in terms of just a brand recognition, I mean, this is one of the top franchises in all of sports globally, really. I mean, not just even in North America, you could make the case. And so from that perspective, seems like a really potentially nice asset to get your hands on. But there's obviously a whole lot more that goes into it. And there's a reason that the people that are in the ballpark of even considering this thing have more money than I certainly know what to do with.
Without question. It's interesting to me. I wonder what prompted the current ownership group to come to that decision, because as you said, you know, with the success that they've had, with the place that they hold in Boston and in New England and nationally and globally, I mean, it's not like they're not being successful at any, you know, by any measure of success, you wouldn't think. So if you buy a professional sports franchise, what prompts you to get rid of it?
Yeah. Although when you're talking about an ownership group, right, you know, we kind of, especially here in America, visualize, you know, the Mark Cubans, the Jerry Jones, you know, the singular owner that kind of takes all the credit and is in all the photos and whatnot. But when you're talking about a group, sometimes these groups, you know, it's a secret, you know, they don't necessarily care about being in the spotlight. And maybe, like I said, these people have gotten very, very rich for a reason. And, you know, maybe they just ran the financials and said, hey, we wanted to hit a certain threshold financially. And once we've hit that, we're out. That's kind of always the interesting dynamic, because it feels like there's two ways to own a franchise. You got the romanticized, you know, super fan, just really living and dying with the state of your franchise, Steve Ballmer style, you know, or
Pat Croce when he was the owner of the Sixers.
Right. I mean, just kind of coming to mind, or even the Cronkies, for as successful as they are, they're still very kind of hands off. And, you know, they pop up occasionally. But when you have these kind of mysterious groups, I mean, sometimes it does just feel like, you know, very financially and calculated driven. So I don't really know the full answer to that question. And I'm not sure that we really will know, or, you know, the common folks will know. This is probably something that was definitely very thoroughly analyzed in a secret boardroom that you and I were not, unfortunately, invited to.
And not at all. A lot of accountants in that boardroom, though, I would imagine. So, yeah.
Presumably so. Yeah, many accountants, as you said.
Accountants and attorneys.
Yes, probably the same number of both, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our top story. Again, brought to you by Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. We are going to take a break here at Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance, the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we will be joined by our NBA analyst, LANDEN SECREST, because we got questions and he's probably got answers. So stay tuned after this break.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another estate auction in White House, Tennessee on Saturday, July 20th at 10 a.m. Join Bluegrass as they sell the Judy Matthews Honeycutt Estate, conveniently located in the scenic Orchard Park subdivision. This beautiful estate includes both real estate and personal property, so everything must go. Everything will be sold on-site and in person, and a 10% buyer's premium is added to the final bid. So bid with confidence with Bluegrass Auction Associates, committed to excellence.
We thrive under the lights. a city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton along with Wade Neely, and we are joined now to talk a little NBA by LANDEN SECREST, former Spring Hill multi-sports standout, current Belmont University senior, joining us here. So is that grad date in May?
It will be in December. It's in December right now.
This coming,
yes.
December 24.
Yes.
Hashtag overachiever. My goodness, that's amazing. Congratulations, Landon. I'm happy for you, man.
Thank you.
Now you're and I'm sure that your folks are happy too because you're getting off the payroll. But hey, that's awesome. Hey, the NBA draft was last week. The Grizzlies took Zach Edey at number 9. Wade was initially quite bothered by the pick. He's starting to come around to it. Me, not so much. Explain to me how that was a good pick for Memphis, given the personnel that they have in place and what they like to do.
I think it's a really good pick for what they need, just because they, looking at the center spot, everybody wants that big body. Even if he doesn't do much, you need that physical enforcer, the shot blocker who can block a couple of shots and get some rebounds if necessary. It doesn't necessarily have to be that much of a threat. And when you look at this draft in particular, there wasn't many huge bodies that can fill that void like a Zach Edey. There's plenty of 7-footers out there, but somebody that's big, and on the Grizzlies, he's not going to need to do that much because you have Ja Morant and Desmond Bane. He's not going to be looked at to play the offense through him like he did in Purdue. But I think it's perfect for what they need because he can grab as many boards from Ja Morant shots and play defense, which I think is going to be really important. He's that big body that I think they need.
So the idea that they have been such a 94-foot transition type team and trying to integrate him into that's not an issue.
I don't think it'll be an issue because when you're looking at what Zach Edey does, I mean, he's not the best mover, but when you look at somebody like Aluka Garza in the past, who was also one of the National Players of the Year and was a bigger body, Zach Edey is a little bit bigger, and I think he moves a little better than Garza did. And obviously, Garza doesn't get much playing time in the league, but what the Grizzlies are going to be asking of Zach Edey, I think he's going to have to acclimate to the style of play. And I don't think it'll be that much of a transition for him. I mean, he's got a lot of weight on him and he's a big body, but the fast pace is just something he'll have to get acclimated to rather quickly, I would say, because they're going to ask him to play probably a lot up front.
Landon, as the Grizzlies kind of make this move, they make this selection, it seemed like it was the worst kept secret that they desperately wanted to get a big, and they certainly got the biggest of bigs, I guess. And I love the way that you kind of framed that up when you say he basically, Edey can essentially grab offensive rebounds in his sleep. And for a team that does shoot, historically not the greatest from beyond the arc, I like the way that you kind of framed that up, that he's going to be able to give them some potential second chance opportunities. And then I just have this visual, Landon, of him. Purdue didn't ask him to do a lot of screening, but man, I just feel like he is a screening phenom. He's done a ton of it for Canada, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But it seems like him potentially setting screens, whether that's for Ja to slash or for a guy like Desmond Bane to shoot the three. It seems like that part to me seems exciting.
Yeah, I think when you look at the big body that Zach Edey is, he's definitely going to be able to be a brick wall, especially, flare screens for Desmond Bane coming off the elbow. If they can work it out with Luke Kennard to bring him back, he's one of the best shooters. The screens for him to come off. And then obviously John Morant, no question, coming off a flat screen with Zach Edey. He's going to get to the rim either way, but with Zach Edey in the way, blocking off a defender, I think that's going to be much easier for him to get to the rack.
And then we saw the Grizzlies go and snag a couple of shooters in the second round. Do you feel like, especially if Luke Kennard, if they don't exercise that team option with him, do you feel like either one of the potential second round picks for Memphis will have a chance to latch on, whether that's, a two-way deal or a chance maybe down the road to get into the rotation in your mind?
Yeah, I think, it's especially apparent in this draft just because of the format with the second day. I think a lot more attention is being given to the second round picks. And I think we're going to see a lot more this year of the attention to those picks that can maybe get into the rotation, because a lot of people just throw them to the wayside, and the teams do that as well. But giving the attention to these guys, and you'd be surprised how many can actually fit into the rotation on a team like the Grizzlies, who should be, in the playoff mix, definitely with everybody back next year.
Landon SECREST joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia, talking a little NBA. And, the idea of a Zach Edey screen, I'm sure, is literally sending shockwaves throughout the NBA. That should be fun for defenders. But Landon, free agency got started yesterday. And, I don't know what the most notable move was, but I would say that Klay Thompson not going to the Lakers was high on that list.
Yeah, I would say so. I was really expecting him to sign with the Lakers. I saw something on social media a couple of years back when Ray Allen left the Celtics to join the Heat. It was going to be much of the same if Klay Thompson left the Warriors to join the Lakers. And ironically, LeBron is on the Heat and the Lakers. Just seeing that he would be kind of playing that same role. I know a lot of people have been giving Klay Thompson flack for his performance, going 0 for 10 in one of their closeout games. But, Klay Thompson is one of the greatest shooters of all time. And now that the Mavericks have him, when you think about what they have with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic and the fact that they made the finals, if Klay Thompson can just stand in the corner and shoot threes, he's going to hit, if not 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. And if that's all they're asking him to do, that's really easy for the Mavericks and Klay Thompson.
And just given, the history of the Lakers basically getting who they want, how much of a blow is this that he didn't go there? On top of everything else that's gone on with the Lakers over the past week to 10 days.
Yeah, very, very true. Very good point, Mo. I think it's a really big blow for them when you look at years back in free agency, tagging LA as a destination that's, enticing to go to. When you look at the Paul Georges and the Kawhi Leonards a couple years back, they decided to go to the Clippers. And when you look at that conversation again this year, it wasn't even in the question for Paul George to go to the Lakers. He was going to end up going to the Warriors, but now he's obviously on the 76ers, and they're in talks for DeRozan now. And it seems like they're just hitting and missing on a lot of these in terms of free agency. And are they going to get that third star? Who knows? And is it going to work out? They got Russell Westbrook, but that was a disaster a couple of years ago. So fit is important in these situations as well.
Landon, speaking of fit, and by the way, Mo, let's give Landon props. He's been on this show for quite some time this afternoon. He hadn't even started bragging about his Oklahoma City Thunder yet, who really kind of are really the real winners in my mind, at least in terms of the free agency. Here's your chance to
he'll get there.
Yeah, here's your chance to gloat a little bit, Landon. Talking about bigs and talking about a team that kind of needed one. How about the addition of Hartenstein coming over? And then we can also get into, them picking up Caruso, an upgrade over Josh Giddey, and they basically got him for nothing the other night.
Yeah, the biggest Achilles heel with the team, although we were great this past year as the 1 seed, I know we needed a rebounder and we needed somebody that could play the center. I know Chet is at the center right now, but sliding Chet to the 4 and maybe spelling him those minutes when he goes to the bench. Now picking up Hartenstein, who's one of the best guys that fits that role, not going to be asked to score anything like that, but can get those rebounds that we're missing offensively and defensively, especially in the playoffs. When you look at what Hartenstein did for the Knicks, playing with somebody like Jalen Brunson, he plays his role to a T. And then when you look at the addition of Caruso, I mean, that's just, I would say we robbed the Bulls, because that was just an excellent trade on our end. Because no offense to Josh Giddey, but Caruso is a massive upgrade in terms of what fits the Thunder, the defensive capability, the three-point shooting. Giddey's a playmaker, and we didn't really need a playmaker when you have somebody like when you have somebody like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the team. Looking at those acquisitions, I think it just fits in seamlessly, and it's going to be interesting to see actually what the lineup is going to be, because I don't even know who's going to start, who's going to come off, what's the rotation going to be, but I'm excited. That's a good problem to have.
And that move comes in. That move comes in just right after they kind of got bullied a little bit by the Mavericks into postseason. So it at least right now, sitting here, July 2nd, it feels like that's a direct answer to what we just saw a few weeks ago in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think so. When you look at what Lively and Gafford did, particularly to Chet, and I think Hartenstein would not have allowed that if he were on the team. And when you see it next year with them two on the floor, I think that'll be a good combatant for the teams that try and go over the top and put us in actions with the big man and really just bully us down low.
Being able to move Giddey, given the season that he had this past year, was probably a relief for the Thunder as well, was it not, with everything he's got going on off the floor?
Yeah, I would say that, and also just looking at the production of Giddey, he's not necessarily a three-point threat, and the playmaking has already been made up for by the other guards, picking up a Cason Wallace, who's a great defender, who is a rookie, who can shoot the three. He takes Josh Giddey's spot pretty much last year, and he was getting a lot of the minutes. So, it's not like he was a bad player, but he was just an outlier in terms of the lineup. And I think the Bulls give him an opportunity to flourish in terms of being a playmaker with whatever weapons they have that he can show what he's worth.
Landon SECREST joining us here on Main Street Sports today, talking a little NBA. You mentioned kind of in passing, Landon, Paul George to Philadelphia. What do you feel like the significance of that move is at this point?
I think it definitely puts them up there at the top of the East, not discounting what the Knicks have done. I think the Knicks have had a great offseason so far. But when you look at what the 76ers did, adding Paul George, Joel Embiid is going to give you what he's going to give you, and Tyrese Maxey emerged last year. But Paul George can be that third star that was that third star for the Sixers a couple of years ago when they had a Jimmy Butler and a Ben Simmons and, the fading of Tobias Harris. Now they have that definite third guy who can get involved, and, he can't be ignored when you face a team like the Celtics, and matching up against, the Knicks in the East and all the other teams that are young and running and gunning. Paul George can get you some length and some points on the offensive end.
And his experience has to be a bit of a factor, I would think, on a relatively young squad like the Sixers as well.
Yeah, I would agree as well. Looking at what Paul George, although the Clippers didn't go necessarily far in the playoffs while he was there, he's experienced all the way back to his Indiana days facing off against LeBron as the Pacers pretty much star back then. But now he's kind of, taking that lesser role. And if he's not the number one or number two option, I think that's actually pretty good for Paul George, especially when you look at the Eastern Conference and what the competition is there.
What does that do to the Clippers?
The Clippers and back to Oklahoma City, when you look at the picks that were involved in the Paul George trade, the Clippers are probably going to have to be rather good next year, or the pick is going to be very high in Oklahoma City's favor, to my understanding, looking at the trades that were involved and the picks that were involved in the Paul George trade years back. So I hope the Clippers are going to work it out in terms of being respectable, but, losing somebody like Paul George and moving into the new arena, I don't know what their direction is going to be. They have James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, and I don't know necessarily what their identity is going to be, because who knows if Kawhi can be on the floor, and that's an alarming question to still be asking at this point. But we don't know the answer to that.
Earlier today, it was announced that former Ensworth standout James Wiseman has signed a deal with Indiana. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think it's a really good pickup for Indiana. Looking at what James Wiseman's career has been so far, picked so highly by the Warriors, wasn't really given a chance to develop, went to the Pistons, and then everyone's calling him a bust. But I would say he hasn't really gotten a chance to showcase what we know him as the Ensworth standout, the Memphis East star, the couple of games at Memphis. We know what talent he has. And I think, on a running and gunning team with the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton, a budding star, I think he can slide into, that rotational big role there. And definitely a shout out the fact that the Nashville connections on that team, you got Aaron Nesmith, you got Ben Shepherd, and now you got James Wiseman, that can't be ignored as well.
Absolutely. What do you feel like the next big move is?
I think something is really going to happen with DeRozan. I just don't know where he's going to go. I feel like that can be a totem switcher for the balance of power in the league, depending on where he goes. But, I would say there's going to be a lot more moves. I think it's been, very, 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 very busy at this point. When you look at Klay Thompson moving away from the Warriors, that's obviously the headline right now. But I think there's going to be a couple more potential headlining moves. It's just going to be who's going to be the big winner, because I would say the big winner right now, although Klay went to the Mavericks, I think it's the New York Knicks getting Mikal Bridges and keeping OG Anunoby. Although they lost Hartenstein, I think matching up with the Celtics in the East, that's just a great move for them to be in contention. But I think there's going to be a lot more moves in free agency and trading wise. It's going to keep the offseason interesting.
Just strictly from a personnel standpoint, you feel like the Knicks are the big winners. But when you look at what all they gave up in that Mikal Bridges trade, I mean, is that does that kind of put you off a little bit?
Yeah, but I think there's definitely a fine line between win now mode and maximizing your championship window and, making the gamble on that trade. When you look at assets that you give up and maximizing your moment, Jalen Brunson has risen onto the scene. And when you look at the picks that you could give up to the Nets in that trade and the players that you give up in that trade, that's going to be discounted for, hopefully, if the Knicks win a championship, go further. I would say, the Nets are definitely going to be putting themselves in a position to be one of the bottom tiers in the league to get those high draft picks, because that's the direction they're going in. But when you look at the Knicks, I think they're trying to stack up to match against Boston, and I think they did a very good job doing that.
Landon, I got to ask you, we broke down the draft and we started this conversation by talking about the Grizzlies, and we kind of have gone through the pecking order, and there's a lot of questions about San Antonio. And is this the year that they kind of start pushing their chips in the middle? And after the draft, we're thinking maybe it looks like they're going to try and sit tight or sit back for another year. And then they go out and they sign Chris Paul, and seemingly everybody feels like they just need somebody desperately that can just funnel the ball. a simple entry pass would do to a guy like Wemby. And so I'm curious your take on not only picking up Castle in the draft, but now you get a chance to have him mentor under a guy like Chris Paul there in San Antonio.
Yeah, I think the Spurs are definitely an interesting team to watch because we know the talent that Wembanyama is, and they picked up Castle, who I really like out of UConn. And then with the 8th pick, they ended up trading Rob Dillingham away when in the draft night, it was kind of a big deal that the San Antonio Spurs traded him away because he's such a great talent, one of the best guards in the draft. But when you look at the ultimate signing that they made with Chris Paul, you know, Dillingham wouldn't necessarily be the person that's going to be feeding Wembanyama the ball. He's going to try and get his own buckets. But when you look at the signing of a veteran like Chris Paul, he's definitely going to put Wembanyama in the right position and also be a backcourt mate to potentially Stephon Castle. And when you look at the defensive capabilities that CP3 has left and what Castle brings to the table as a defensive prospect, then you look at Vassell and Sohan and Wembanyama, that's a very formidable defensive lineup depending on what Chris Paul has left in the tank, I would say. So they're definitely a team to watch. I wouldn't say necessarily like a playoff riser or anything like that, but they're going to be way more respectable, I would say, than they were last year.
Yeah, it feels like they're just kind of laying in the weeds, waiting, and then maybe potentially next year is when they really start turning on the gas.
Right.
You kind of, it feels like you kind of hit on it though when you ask how much does Chris Paul have left in the tank.
Yeah, we don't know that because he was ascending when he was on the Suns. Then when you look at all that he's went through with the Warriors and going off the bench, and then what does he actually have left? Is he still a fringe all-star caliber player despite his age? Can he be respectable as a shooter? Can he be respectable still on defense? You know, those are questions that need to be answered. He's not getting any younger, and he's also not getting any bigger. Chris Paul is relatively little to be a guard. So, I mean, just looking at those things, those are important factors in the modern NBA, but it's going to be exciting to see with the triangle of Popovich, Chris Paul, and Wembanyama. That's a whole bunch of basketball knowledge, and I think there's a lot of potential with that.
You mentioned Tobias Harris. I saw where he re-signed with Detroit, and this is a guy who, is it a shock he's still in the league?
You know, the fall off of Tobias Harris needs to be studied because I would say he was definitely looked at as, you know, a third player that could get you a lot of points at a time, you know, be that respectable third option on offense. And now it's, what is really his role? Because is he a great defender? Is he a great scorer? What else does he bring to the table? Because he's not necessarily a guy that jumps off the sheet when you look at the size or when you look at the fitness. He's kind of like we don't know what his position is, and that's not necessarily a good place to be in when you're an older player like Tobias Harris. It's great for the young guys and potential, and we can slot you here and there, but Tobias Harris, what is his role in 2024 is what we're trying to figure out.
Should be interesting to watch, but I mean, it's Detroit, right? So
you're exactly right.
One last bag grab.
Hey, and again, we are all for securing the bag on this show. So I mean, if you can get paid, if somebody will give it to you, take it, man. I'm not mad at him. I just did not see him, you know, still being in the league at this point. So, you know, congrats to him, you know. Landon SECREST joining us here on Main Street Sports today, sharing his NBA knowledge, and we certainly appreciate it. When I reached out to you earlier in the week, you said you would be with the Belmont men's team yesterday and would not be available. What are you doing with the Belmont men's team right now?
I'm currently serving as the digital reporter through the summer workouts, just getting to know the team, getting that content out there with the host of new players that we have on the men's side, where we have a couple of transfers, a couple of freshmen, and, you know, just getting the personalities out there, getting the play styles out there, you know, getting that content out to engage the fans and engage the consumers. I think that's important in the modern day. When you look at the age of the transfer portal, so many faces going in and out, and it's a question of who's really on the team and how can I connect with these people? And I think that's where I can step in and kind of help that with the fans and getting to know the players that are still on and also the new faces that are coming around.
There are certainly some new faces to get to know over at Belmont with Casey Alexander. So check out Landon SECREST at Landon SECREST. Check out Landon SECREST Sports at Landon_SECREST. And for his sports takes, check out Seco_sports on X. Landon, we appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll be catching up.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Wade.
Thank you, Landon.
When we come back to the Lee Company Studios here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we'll be talking a little baseball. So stay with us after this break.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
In 1969, 4 Atlanta hitters were plunked by Cincinnati pitchers with Felix Millan hit twice, and the Braves took full advantage in a 9-4 comeback victory. Red starter Jerry Arrigo tied an NL record when he hit Millan, Clete Boyer, and Bob Aspromonte all in the second inning, with the Braves scoring on Orlando Cepeda's game-tying 2-run double. The 5-hit batters for the Braves set a post-1900 Major League Baseball record that would stand for another 31 years. That was this day in Braves history. I guess that was a painful Braves victory over Cincinnati.
Had to wear those, right? Ooh.
Literally,
Five
exactly.
5 flunk batters?
5. 5 guys, well, one twice. So, but yeah, 4 different guys took bruises home with that victory. We mentioned Orlando Cepeda, and we neglected to mention on yesterday's show the 1999 Hall of Fame inductees passing over the weekend at the age of 86, former teammate of Willie Mays when both played in San Francisco. Cepeda also a member of those great St. Louis teams in the mid to late 60s, along with Bob Gibson in that bunch. I think it was the 67 World Series that they won with him. Cepeda was the NL leader in home runs in 1961 with 46, also drove in 142 runs that year. First foreign-born player to lead his league in home runs, finished second in MVP voting that year. He was voted NL Rookie of the Year at the age of 20. San Francisco won the NL pennant in 62. And again, went on to St. Louis, won a World Series there, was named NL MVP in 67 unanimously. Spent the 69 through 72 seasons with the Braves and finished his career with the A's, Red Sox, and Royals. So it's crazy. I mean, again, we had just lost Willie Mays, and then turn right around and another San Francisco Giant great dies just days later, Orlando Cepeda. Tough stretch for Major League Baseball and that community. So wanted to be sure and acknowledge that.
Well deserved, and will be sorely missed. And yeah, it's been losing some titans and some icons lately, unfortunately.
And some great nicknames. Among his were the Baby Bull and Cha-Cha, I guess in deference, in respect of his Puerto Rico ties. So yeah, that was a great time for baseball, man. And you hate to see those guys leave. So San Francisco again visits Atlanta tonight, 6:20 start at Truist Park. Hayden Birdsong going for his first win, 5.79 ERA, no decisions for the youngster. Former Eastern Illinois pitcher Hayden Birdsong going up against Ronaldo Lopez, 6-2 with a 1.70 ERA for the Braves, who won 2 of 3 from Pittsburgh, but dropped the finale on Sunday. So trying to get things headed back in the right direction are the Braves. Meanwhile, continuing to head in the right direction, the Astros have won 10 of their last 11 following last night's 3-1 victory over Toronto.
Good dub for Houston. And we mentioned they just flat out went in Toronto and ruined Canada Day. Independence Day is
you kind of called that a little bit. Yeah.
When Houston comes to town, they'll spoil a party with the best of them, and they'll embrace it. So good win for the boys. They seem to be playing well. Just 3 back now of the Mariners, 9-1 in their last 10. And despite all the injuries, somehow are finding ways to win games right now.
Hunter Brown with 6 shutout innings. That never hurts.
That'll take you quite a way.
Quiet as it's kept, Brown was 4-0 in 5 June starts with a 1.16 ERA, and then throws up another 6 shutout yesterday. So
him, Blanco, and then Aaron Getty's been pitching well too. So they're kind of doing a little more than treading water with these guys, in addition to Verlander, as the ones that have somehow magically not been super injured this year.
Yeah, and you need another good start out of Eric Getty tonight. 4-6 with a 5.68 ERA, going up against Toronto's Jose Barrios, 7-6 with a 6.68. So there threatened to be some runs scored in this one, but like you said, maybe Eric Getty kind of watched Hunter Brown and continues his good run tonight.
His last start, he struck out 10. I don't know if he'll get 10 tonight. He's pitched well in the month of June too. So they have to keep tabs on young Spencer tonight.
Absolutely. NL East teams making some moves. Miami designated Tim Anderson for assignment earlier today. The former Chicago White Sox all-star shortstop coming off of a dismal season there. And this one would qualify as much, hitting 214, slashing 214, 237, 226 in 65 games, striking out nearly 30% of his plate appearances, a career high to this point, and just 3 extra base hits and 234 ABs. The 31-year-old shortstop from Birmingham signed a 1-year, $5 million deal with Miami. And, if they would trade a guy like Luis Ariz, then they would certainly cut a guy like Tim Anderson. So don't know what's next for Miami, but it will not include Tim Anderson.
Man, probably won't be well. They're a smooth 25 back of Philadelphia in the East. So
goodness gracious.
Quarter horse behind there.
After reaching the NL playoffs a year ago. And,
Crazy.
By the way, Kim Ng, the former general manager of the Marlins, took a job yesterday with she is now the senior advisor for Athletes Unlimited Softball League. I kind of feel like that is where things kind of started to fall apart for Miami. They hired her in 2020 as the first female general manager in North American professional sports, or in the 4 major North American professional sports. Miami goes to the playoffs in her final season, and they ask her to take a step back. She says no. She leaves after spending time with the White Sox, Yankees, and Dodgers. She's got 3 World Series rings, which is 3 more than anybody in Miami's got right now, I think. But former softball player at the University of Chicago. So now she will, again, be senior advisor for the Athletes Unlimited Softball League, which will start next year. Working alongside Nashville resident Sherry Kemp, senior vice president and director of softball for Athletes Unlimited. So that's an interesting move for Athletes Unlimited, getting somebody of the background and the experience of Kim Ng. So be something to keep an eye on.
Good move for her. And yeah, chance maybe, pursue this project for a little bit. MLB seems like it's always going to be there with a resume like that. So, you know what, Marlins, I don't need you.
Going to be just fine. And meanwhile, again, the Marlins, you said 25 games back?
Yeah, not good in sunny Miami. 30-54 on the season, I think.
Ooh.
Oof.
Yeah, exactly. Another NL East team making moves. We talked a little bit about James Wood back during spring training when he was really killing it for the Washington Nationals. Did not break camp with the big club, went to Rochester to start the season. Well, the Nationals brought him up. He made his major league debut yesterday, got a hit in his first at bat. And this is probably big for a lot of reasons for Washington. One being that he's a native of the DMV. He's from Olney, Maryland. So, anytime you can get a local boy like that, I would think that's a good thing.
Help sell some tickets, if nothing else.
You would think. Played left field, batted 6. And again, singled the other way for his first major league hit in his first major league at bat. Wound up going 1 for 4, but 6'7", 234. At Rochester, he was hitting .353 with 10 home runs, 37 ribs, and had an OPS of 1.058. Whew. Yeah, exactly. So they got him up and in there. Now, to make room for him on the roster, the Nats designated Eddie Rosario for assignment, the former Brave. I don't know if that'll mean anything or not. For a certain team south of here that's got some outfield concerns right now. with 2 of its opening day starters on the on the IL, one of them for the year. So Washington making moves. The Nationals 39-44 and still in the hunt for a wild card spot right now. 4 games out of the final wild card berth right now. Wood was among the guys that Washington got from San Diego when they traded Juan Soto a couple of years ago, along with current starting shortstop C.J. Abrams and left-handed starter Mackenzie Gore. Also involved in that trade was Independence graduate Robert Hassel III, which obviously prompted the question, how close is he to the majors? Well, right now he is on the injured list for Washington's AA Harrisburg affiliate and has not played since like June 11th, I don't think. So kind of a little bit of a struggle to stay on the field and to produce once he is on the field. Hassel currently hitting .278 with 3 home runs and 14 ribs, but again has not played since June 11th. So
sounds like a mystery that needs to be unraveled a little bit more.
Yeah, we may have to dive a little deeper into that here in the next little bit and see what's up with Robert Hassel.
Not an injury or anything. Goes. Yeah, just kind of mysteriously.
Well, I think there may be an injury and maybe try to play through it. I'm not sure. We'll just have to go. Like I said, we'll have to look a little bit more into that one, see what we can dig up. Hey, that's going to do it for our number 1 here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where it is Top 5 Tuesday. At the end of the show, in our final segment, Wade and I will be giving you our top 5 most memorable or most enjoyable coaches. We've had to talk to a few, and we've talked about some coaches here over the last bit on the show. So figured we would just kind of give some kudos to some of our faves in that final segment. When we come back to the Lee Company studios, we will be joined by the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters, checking in over at MTSU. So stay tuned after this break.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
That's Wade Neely. We are Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Hour number 2 of Top 5 Tuesday starts right now from the Lee Company Studios, and to do so, we are joined by the Blue Raider Voice. You can find him at Choose Chip on X or on Twitter, however you refer to it, but Chip Walters joins us. Chip, good Tuesday.
Hey, boys. How are y'all?
What's happening?
Very well.
They've turned the convection oven back on again after a nice day and a half. I went to the race on Sunday, and the first half of the race was kind of boring, but also could not have been more uncomfortable because just hot, humid, just nasty. Then the rain came and took all the humidity out with it, and the race got really interesting and it got really comfortable. So we got 36 good hours, I guess, out of it until it started to heat back up.
Well, I guess it's a good thing it was comfortable since it took so long.
That's right. 5 overtimes. It was, they really do a nice job in up at the Speedway. And the things that, they can't control, how a race ends, but since the Charlotte Motor Speedway folks bought the track and they've really, upped their level of service and customer service and all of that. But sell out hard, packed full grandstands. And I can tell you this, I know I'm getting old. My seats were on row 64 for Sunday, and my quads and calves are still burning from that climb up there. But they've overcome. They had issues when they brought it back, and mainly part ingress and egress, getting in and out of there. But they have really overcome a lot of issues there. And everybody that I've seen that on Twitter and stuff that came in from out of town for the race just had a great time. And that's good that they can roll out the red carpet for visitors coming in and make it a good experience. So we're all trying to do.
Let me ask you this, Chip, because Wade said that he had a friend who lived about 1.5 miles from the track that probably could have sold parking at his home, but chose not to. Did you park inside or outside 1.5 miles?
I was inside 1.5 miles. And they made a change. The big change they made after year one when they brought it back was, after year one, that was the issue. Was there were people who did not get into the race until halfway through because they were charging for parking. They've now built it into your ticket price, and they just wave you in, and it's very well laid out. They've got plenty of Wilson County's finest and THP's finest out there moving traffic in and out, and that's a big deal. So you're probably, as long as there are spaces available, you're probably not going to make a lot of money trying to sell parking because it is built into your ticket now.
Seems like his time to strike was a year or two ago.
That's right.
And then Chip, also, what about our MTSU boy Hardy as the Grand Marshal? How did he do? Because we were talking last week, what exactly does a Grand Marshal do in the grand scheme of things, right?
Well, in this case, you ask the drivers to start their engines, and he did it with gusto. If you have not seen his video, he was at full throat thanking God for country music, for NASCAR, and gentlemen, or said, drivers, start your engines, and he was on point with it. And Hardy's really had a nice, not that he's needed it, but he's really been at kind of the forefront. Just, I guess, the next stage in his stardom. And I really didn't know a whole lot about him, but he's kind of come into my radar a little bit more. I like his music, and then if you haven't seen his commencement speech at MTSU from this spring, it is off the charts good, and you can find it pretty easy. It's about 10 minutes worth, and I will tell you this, Mo, he drops some comments that let you know, oh yeah, he did go to school here, and there's no question. There's no question about it, and with some of the stuff that he said, and it's really fun to see him, wear his true blueness on his on his shirt sleeve out there, and be a representative, and see all of that, and Middle had a big presence at the race, by the way. The Daniel Center, the Charlie and Hazel Daniel Center for Veterans and Military Families, they have been partners with the Speedway for this will be the 4th year, and they get a lot of traction with that, and it has become a hub in the fan zone for veterans to come by, pick up, whether it's fans or flags or sign the banner. And also, Kyle Petty got involved with them this year, just by happenstance of proximity out in the fan zone of something Kyle was doing, and General Huber going on stage, and Kyle's always been one to give back with his ride across the country, and after Adam had passed away, and so there's a lot of good synergy going there. Being part of the opening ceremonies, there's a group of veterans representing the Daniel Center that were holding the flag out at the start finish line. So, they Middle had a big presence there, and at that race, and will again have another big presence at the IndyCar race. Although the concrete management folks won't be needed quite as much, since this is one course and not the downtown course that hopefully they'll get back to here in the next couple of years.
Chip, as we mentioned, for the first week in July, it seems to be uncommonly busy on campus.
It is turning more into a year round. I mean, you can remember back in our day, football players and all the athletes, that if they would have a summer job, they work construction, or they'd go home and do all this. That doesn't happen anymore. I mean, we've had one big set of workouts now. Just everybody gets a couple of weeks off now. They'll be back either next week or the week after, all of the teams, and with their remainder of the summer part of their workouts, and so it is going on all the time. We added a team to the league yesterday. We've had conference awards continue to be passed out, scholar athlete awards, female athlete of the year. So it's been a busy time.
Hiring coaches.
That's right. Women's golf coach Lauren Gaisecki comes to Middle from Grand Canyon. She replaces Chris Adams, who has been a longtime women's golf coach, who recently accepted a position as the head coach at Texas A&M Corpus Christi, which that is a campus that is literally on the beach on the Gulf of Mexico, which is not a bad deal. And
That's a tough one to turn down, isn't it?
And the thing, for her is, and one thing about that school, kind of interesting, it is, and I'm not sure of the exact language, but it is to Hispanics what HBCUs are to the Black community, in that they serve, there's 25% or more of their student body is Hispanic, being in their location. And so there are certain golf tournaments certain events that are designed with the Hispanic serving universities, like Texas Pan American, I'm sure, is one, being where they're located. Lamar may actually be one, being in Beaumont, but Corpus Christi is one. And I mean, they play in some great places. They played at Sawgrass in Jacksonville, and they've had and she inherits a really good team there. And she is from Kansas originally, and it's not quite half the distance to get back to her family in Kansas, but it does cut about a third off the trip, which, this is an opportunity for her to be able to do that and put her stamp on a brand new program. But Lauren Gajsecki has had a lot of success out at Grand Canyon, including a conference championship within the last 10 years, NCAA appearance. And I was reading one stat that almost looked in her time here. I want to make sure I get this right. They had they as a team won 15 tournaments, and she had 11 individuals win low medalist in tournaments. So 15 tournament wins over that span of time is pretty good. And they have finished in the top 5 in 10 of their last 11 tournaments, and in the top 3 in 9 tournaments. So they've been very, very competitive. She's a native of Indiana. She gets to be back closer to her family now. So, hopefully for everyone involved, it's a win-win. And so we welcome her to town. And I tried to drop by to say hello, and she is already on the road recruiting. So she understands what the lifeblood of a program is.
2011 Indiana graduate. So that's it's a nice get for Chris Massaro and MTSU. And pronounce that name for me one more time.
I think it's Gajsecki. That's what I'm going with now until I'm told any different.
Okay.
But yeah. So Chris Adams is just an absolute prince of a person, or princess of a person. She is. I want to wish her all the best of luck. I hate when a good friend moves away, and she has become a really good friend over her tenure. But this is the thing that is best for her right now, and wish her all the best. And the same goes for Lauren, who Coach G, as we'll call her. She'll come rolling in here, and want to wish her all the best. She'll put her stamp on this program as well.
Conference USA, as you mentioned, gave out some end of school year awards here recently. Among them, the 2023-24 Michael L. Slive Athletes of the Year.
Yep.
And I think that's, having had the chance to interact some with Mike Slive during his time as commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, I think anytime anybody gets an opportunity to honor him, I think it's a great thing. So
and of course he was the before he was the SEC commissioner, he was commissioner of Conference USA, and if you can have student athletes win this award that are representative of his values, you got something going.
He was a good dude, man. He really was. And so this is the 7th year that Conference USA's Male and Female Athletes of the Year award has honored Mike Slive, and the Female Athlete of the Year is MTSU's Savannah Wheeler.
That's right. Savannah, I mean, you talk about accolades in a very short amount of time. Since coming to Middle after transferring from Marshall. Women's basketball player of the year, Conference USA tournament MVP, 3-time first team all conference, and was a first team mid-major All-American. And she, does it in the classroom, and not only all of that, her this year, leading Middle to a round of 32 appearance. She led the league in scoring at 18.7. She led it in assist in 5.7 assists per game, led the league in minutes per game at 38.6 during conference play. She is the all-time leader in free throws made as a point guard now. She made 656 out of 773, and she is the number 3 on the all-time scoring list in Conference USA at 2,361. And I'm wondering if they just said we don't need any more nominees at this point and just close the voting after that.
We moved that the nomination cease. Yes,
that's correct, by acclamation.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So she's earned it.
Yeah, she is.
And just signed a pro contract this week. So
that's what I was trying to find. Somewhere overseas. Where is she going?
She's going to Poland. And she, I was talking to somebody who had talked to her, and the word was that she had, done some research, and her agent had done research, and apparently that is a really good place to go. If you're going to, when you go to Europe right now, very stable, part of Europe, because you're right there on the border with Germany, and folks who have played in Germany before talked about how that part of Europe, France, Germany, Poland, and of course the British Isles are as close to being in America as you could have in that part of the world. And you're treated very well, and a good brand of basketball. So that's what she's looking for, and I think she'll be a quick star over there.
And the interesting angle to that, Chip, is kind of like traveling in Europe. Once you're over there, it makes it a lot easier to get seen, get recognized. And so we could be having this same conversation next year where we're talking about Savannah, obviously in a dream world, coming back to play here in the United States, but certainly could potentially start climbing those ranks in Europe as well.
That's right. Well, you'd like to see her take the exact same path that former Lady Raider Alicia Clark took. Alicia started playing professionally in Israel, and Alicia has dual citizenship through her mom is Jewish and had the opportunity to be Alicia was valuable in Israel because she did not take up an American roster spot. Right. By having dual citizenship. And of course, she for a while played in 2 leagues. She played there and played in the WNBA. And we also this week can talk about Alicia a little bit more in that she has reached the 2,500 point plateau in her WNBA career. And so that's a nice milestone and one more good reason to talk about a great lady.
Anytime you get an opportunity to talk about Alicia Clark, it's a good thing.
That's right.
To wrap up the Michael Slive Athletes of the Year, Liberty quarterback Caden Salter was the male athlete of the year, as recognized by Conference USA. Scholar athletes recognized by Conference USA: golfer Owen Stamper, tennis player Leo Rakeen, and women's cross country runner Purity Sanga, recognized from MTSU.
And for Owen Stamper, that is the second year in a row that he has earned that award. Basically, it is there's a scholar athlete for every sanctioned sport in Conference USA. And in Middle, for the second year in a row, had 3 of those. Stamper last year and this year. Leo Rakeen is the men's tennis winner, and Purity Sanga, who is the women's cross country scholar athlete, and she, of course, was a winner, won the cross country individual title, and made her way to the NCAA outdoor championships. So they that takes into account a lot of different things, including being successful in your sport, as well as obviously when they say it is the scholar athlete, the scholarly portion of that is a big part of it. And the story talks a little bit more about each one of them, and how what they have done within their sport, and being on the commissioner's honor roll is a big part of that. And all three of them have been on the commissioner's honor roll throughout their careers. So very well deserved, and really a nice. It's kind of a nice off-season thing that at this time of the year kind of hangs toward the top of the website for a few days.
There you go.
So,
go ahead, Wade.
Wade has nothing.
Wade has nothing? I thought Wade had something. I thought he was getting ready to say something.
No, I think Chip was getting ready to add a few more words there.
No, the only other thing I sent you today, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it yet.
I did.
They put out a who was it that put that out? Was it New York Times or
no? It was the Athletic.
The Athletic.
Yes.
Yeah, Chris Vanini. It is a group of 5 questionnaire that they're asking group of 5 fans and alums to fill out the questionnaire. And it's really interesting. It talks about, it asks the same questions about each of the different group of 5 member conferences: the American, the Sun Belt Conference USA, the MAC, and the WAC, or Mountain West rather. And it talks about, are you happy with the membership? Are you happy with, what kind of job do you think your commissioner has done? Do you like the television package? And in the case of the Conference USA and the MAC, do you like having midweek games? And it's really about group of 5 football. So I thought I think one thing it will do is, is fans of a school are the worst critics of their own school. So fans of their own conference are their worst critics. We'll see when this is all said and done who is the most grumpy of any of the groups out there.
I think that's an interesting way to put it, Chip, and it'll be, there'll be some feedback to where maybe some folks will go, hey, maybe we don't have it so bad. But yeah, that's an interesting looking survey that Chris Vanini and the Athletic have put together. Some pretty insightful stuff. I'll be looking forward to the compilation of it once they do. Speaking of group of 5 and conferences and conference realignment, you mentioned briefly, we talked about it a little bit more yesterday, but Kennesaw State is official as of yesterday. Delaware and Missouri State will be official this time next year. As a radio play-by-play guy, what are your thoughts about the Owls coming in?
As a radio play-by-play guy, my first thought is that's an easy road trip, and whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever, it's a much easier road trip than UTEP. It will be a much easier road trip than Missouri State, to be quite honest, because Missouri State in Springfield, great place, terrific university.
Once you get there, huh?
Beautiful facilities. Once you get there, that's right. There's not an easy way to get there. I mean, maybe the easiest way is if you can grab the Allegiant flight to Northwest Arkansas. There's a direct from Nashville to the Northwest Arkansas airport near Fayetteville and the Walmart country there. That may be the easiest way to get there, but Kennesaw's a 3.5 hour drive from Murfreesboro. I mean, yeah. And I tell you what, one thing I did not know, number one, they have 45,000 students on 2 campuses, one in Kennesaw, one in Marietta. And they also, I did not realize in their first 5 years of 1AA football, which their first 5 years in Division I, they won 48 games in 5 years.
Wow.
So they have had some success and know how to win. They've been in a super regional in baseball. Basketball, I'm not sure that they've made a ton of noise, but being in that Atlanta market, along with, we've seen what Georgia State's done. We know what Georgia Tech can do, and we know everybody else and their grandmother is recruiting the 404 and the 678. So
in the 706,
and
yes.
there's a lot of players down there, and a lot of student athletes. So Kennesaw will. I mean, it's not going to take them much to get up to speed, and I think our fans will realize that even more this year in football when they take a look at Middle's football roster and compare it to last year's football roster, and the way that the rules have changed. And used to, when you would go and make the move from 1AA to 1A, it would take you 3 years to make up those 10 extra scholarships. Not anymore.
Right.
I mean, Middle's going to have 62 new names on their roster of 105 going into this fall. So that just goes to show you, or shows to go you, that that you can make some major changes very quickly. And I think about in basketball, we're seeing it more on the men's side, but the middle men had 6 new guys this year. Tennessee State, of 13 scholarship players, have 13 new scholarship players. So it can be fruit basket turnover, and you can go from worst to first, or first to worst in a heartbeat, depending on how things go. And I'm still being drug along in all of this, a lot of it, because I think, being a 12-year member of the Middle Tennessee Alumni Association Board of Directors, I think about 20 years down the road, who do these players, who do they say that was my alma mater? 20 years down the road, where do they take their kids back and say, hey, here's where I went to school, and be proud of it? Is that just going to go away because of the microwave society that we have to have these days? We'll just see.
Yeah, and Chip, I was curious, just geographically, does MTSU maybe stand from a recruiting standpoint to lose the most by Kennesaw coming in your mind, or does that even make that much of a difference anymore?
I just think I think when you look at that corridor between Nashville and Atlanta, there's a ton of players that come out of that area in just about every sport you're talking about. And it's not like Kennesaw hadn't been recruiting a lot of those people already. They might grab 1 or 2 here and there, but everybody's recruiting philosophy is changing a little bit, in that, are you more likely to take a college rising sophomore that has game film from a college game, as opposed to a guy who was, and I'll use Gary Rankin as an example, who went into the high school Hall of Fame this week. But are you going to take a college kid who is a bit of a known quantity at the college level, as opposed to a running back at Boyd Buchanan? And we've seen that over the last several years. Once the transfer portal started opening up, it has not been a great thing for high school seniors. And hopefully we're seeing a little bit of action back toward that, because you don't want to see that go away. And I'm still of the mindset, I would rather see a program built than a series of 4 teams built over a 4-year period. That's just me, though.
No, it's not just you.
So yeah, there, I feel better.
Yeah, it's not just you. Before we let you go, Chip, your cheat sheet mentioned 2 items. I don't know that we're going to be able to get them both in, but one of them won't won't get old. Facilities update. What's the latest?
Well, there's a really good story Sam Doughton put on GoBlueRaiders.com, and we're all fans of Sam Doughton and his work. He really does a good job with notes columns, and he did one the other day that's basically there are 4 different projects going on right now in athletics. From one being the Student Athlete Performance Center. Bottom line, it is on schedule to be ready for football season of 2025. So about a year from now, it is. And he also quoted Larry Maples in there saying that this year during the season, they'll be drying it in, and folks who built a house know what that means. That you will see a difference in what you look at from the stands from week to week. You will be able to see progress every week on that building. Video board at Floyd Stadium. It's going to go from a footprint of 23 by 36 to 34 by 60 at Floyd Stadium. And it is on schedule to be ready to be turned over to the university by the end of July. The framework has been done. They'll start adding panels. That will be this month of July and hooking everything up. And then they will be able to turn it over to Nathan Wallach and his staff to be able to get it up and running, ready for the August 31st game against Tennessee Tech.
Tell me again, from 23 by 36 to what?
To 34 by 60. Now, the 23 by 36 was the old scoreboard had static signage and then a video board part in the middle. That video board part was 23 by 36.
Right.
Now, just think of that old scoreboard and all of it being LED wall. So that's what's going to happen. That it was about 35 by 60, 34 by 60, including all the additional signage. Now that whole thing is going to be video board and will be the largest video board in Conference USA at any of the football stadiums. To operate that, you need a control room, and there is a new control room being constructed in the Murphy Center that will be able to operate the video board in Floyd Stadium, the video boards in Murphy Center, and I think if need be, they will be able to operate the video boards at baseball and softball, but they can also do other video productions, whether it's a coach's show or whatever live events there within the arena that need to be streamed. Our ESPN Plus broadcast can be controlled out of there. That will come online midway through football season, but prior to basketball season. And also, as part of the Bill Blue project, the loading dock and the ramp on the back of Murphy Center is being moved around to the south side. And that project had been stopped due to some water lines that they found that weren't as deep as they thought they were. And so when you
say found,
when they found the water lines,
they found them the hard way, huh?
They found them the hard way, and so that had to be taken care of. And now the remainder of the loading dock project will be completed, and that will, I think, by the end of September, they're hoping to have that done. So you may have a little bit of you're going to have some construction, fencing, and walkthroughs around the SAPC anyway. So it's not going to be anything, I think, that's going to overburden you any more than what's already going to be there.
Raincoat suggested, huh?
Yeah. I think they've got the water lines that they found plugged up. So
Chip Walters, the Blue
Raider voice. A lot of stuff happening for sure.
Chip Walters, the Blue Raider voice, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, as he does most every Tuesday. Chip, we appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you next week.
Thank you, boys. See you
later.
Chip.
When we continue here on Top 5 Tuesday on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we will dig into the grab bag Stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studios after this.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another estate auction in White House, Tennessee on Saturday, July 20th at 10 a.m. Join Bluegrass as they sell the Judy Matthews Honeycutt Estate, conveniently located in the scenic Orchard Park subdivision. This beautiful estate includes both real estate and personal property, so everything must go. Everything will be sold on-site and in person, and a 10% buyer's premium is added to the final bid. So bid with confidence with Bluegrass Auction Associates, committed to excellence.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
It's Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, who is still with us. Stepped away momentarily thanks to Pulaski Electric, but I'm glad to have him back. In the final segment, it is Top 5 Tuesday, Wade, and I will give you our most enjoyable, most easy to work with coaches. So
memorable, you said earlier. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun list.
It'll be interesting. So stick around for that. Right now, it's the grab bag, and I'm gonna start right in Wade's wheelhouse because he had expressed a little angst over the U.S. men's national team's loss to Panama last week. Well, he's even more angsty now with the team's loss to Uruguay last night, knocking them out of the Copa America competition in the group stage, becoming the first host nation to not advance to the knockout stage of Copa America, according to this article on CBS Sports. And I will tell you that there are a number of people who did not know the name of the U.S. national team's soccer coach before last night that know it now. And Greg Berhalter is on the hot seat.
Yeah, not good whatsoever. And really, Mo, that's why the loss to Panama was so ridiculous, crushing, and devastating, because Uruguay is one of the favorites to win this thing. And so going into last night, even if Uruguay threw a bit of a curveball in the United States because they had pretty much everything secured, so you're thinking, all right, they're going to trot out their backups. They went full send, and U.S., that task got even harder. And There was a sketchy offside call that should have been called, I should say, that allowed Uruguay to score. But throw all that out the window. Yeah, Berhalter, this has been a very just odd and weird journey with a lot of plots and drama and intrigue over the last, it feels like a decade. It's been 5 years now, and it's came crashing to a halt last night because you go out on home soil in the group stage, that's about as embarrassing as it gets. And we're 2 years away from the World Cup, so things got to get turned around in a hurry.
So basically what you're saying is after the loss to Panama, they had no room for error against Uruguay. If they could have won that one and then lost to Uruguay, they would have still been in decent shape.
Yep, Panama goes through. Panama played Bolivia. And classic U.S. fashion, there was even a moment, Mo, last night where even though the U.S. wasn't playing great, it was still 0-0. They needed a crazy upset of Bolivia over Panama to potentially at least open the door. And they got that. Bolivia was winning. And you're thinking, oh, here we go. The U.S. somehow, some way, magically, which they've done over the years, just somehow find a way to sneak in somehow. And not only did Bolivia blow that lead, but then, as I mentioned, Uruguay scores the goal. And the USA they're in a real bad spot. Valer talked about it last week. I mean, these guys get hired in cycles. And more often than not, usually you get hired for one cycle, maybe two. And then it's kind of like your job is done. Very rarely, it's kind of a total departure of what you see in almost every other facet of American sports where, if you got a good coach, you hang on to him forever. But these guys grow stale, and it's time for a new change. And a lot of folks were already calling for that change. And after last night, as you touched on, those voices are hot for Greg Berhalter today.
Apparently, this team has scored one goal in its last 226 minutes of play. 8 shots last night against Uruguay, only 3 on target. So offense, obviously a major issue. I mean, I don't know how much you know about U.S. national team coaching searches, and I'm not sure who it is if it's not Berhalter, but clearly the consensus is this isn't the guy.
No, and this happens every time too. They had Klinsmann several years ago, who was kind of the hot shot, big international. So you'll hear names like a Jurgen Klopp or maybe even like a Thierry Henry, guys who have done well at the high level, but I don't know that the USA is in a weird spot, Mo, because almost every country in the world would love to go out and hire these world-class managers that have won Champions Leagues and won World Cups. But in a weird way, the U.S. has been at its best when they don't have those flashy managers, when they have just the good old-fashioned roll-up-your-sleeves, the good old can-do attitudes. That's kind of what's gotten them success. So on one hand, you're kind of almost damned if you do, damned if you don't, because if you don't go out and hire the biggest name, you kind of look like you're doing yourself a disservice. But we've seen those guys kind of like a Klinsmann who come in and promise the world, and then it fizzles out because the teams – that's kind of what makes that country, or what makes this country, and what makes that team so fun to watch, is they've been counted out so many times, and just through sheer grit and determination, they find ways to win. So it's kind of weird, right? Because you want to go for the big coach, but sometimes those guys don't always pan out.
So you feel like maybe it's a kind of a blue collar type thing.
That's who's had success. Look at a guy like Bob Bradley, who's obviously everybody's got their coaching faults, of course, but guys like that who are off the radar. But I don't know. This is going to be very bizarre because you're hosting the World Cup. The entire world will be looking at you in 2 years.
And you're not playing.
And well, I mean, they'll be playing, of course.
Okay, my bad.
But, I mean, unless you get things turned around, you won't be playing past the group stage. That's for sure. And there's really nothing more embarrassing. Soccer is a weird sport. That home field advantage really carries teams a long way. We saw it. South Korea hosted the World Cup. I think it was 2002. They became the first ever Asian nation to advance to the semifinals. South Africa hosts the World Cup. First time the continent of Africa had ever hosted a World Cup. And then Ghana gets to the quarterfinals, the furthest an African nation ever made it. So home field advantage really matters a lot in soccer, and that's what's embarrassing right now. And that's what will be really, really embarrassing in 2 years if they don't get it turned around.
Wimbledon started this week, Wade.
For some. Well, started for all, I guess.
It started for everybody. It
Yeah.
ended for at least one, and that one was a pretty significant one. Marketa Vondrasova falls in straight sets to open Wimbledon. That's 2023 Wimbledon women's singles champion, Marketa Vondrasova. She became the first defending champion to lose in the opening round in 30 years.
Wow. I haven't got dialed in on Wimbledon just yet. I do know I did see that she got upset, and then Andre Rublev, who we just saw go to the French Open final, he lost in the first round. He's ranked number 6 in the world. So Wimbledon's already seen 2 high-profile upsets, and we're just getting started. We haven't even got to the breakfast at Wimbledon portion of Wimbledon yet.
You got knocked out before breakfast.
Yeah, we haven't even got to the strawberries and cream yet, which is, the weekend staple. But these folks are already bounced at this point.
Yeah. In 94, Steffi Graf lost to Lori McNeil after winning the Grand Slam in 93. So that's tough. She comes in as the number 6 seed. Double faulted on 3 occasions in her first game of her match, and I guess never really righted herself. Fell to Jessica Bouzas Monero 6-4, 6-2.
Oof.
I mean, yeah. Wound up with 7 double faults, 28 unforced errors. Monero's second Grand Slam tournament appearance. Think she was expecting to win against the defending champ?
Yeah, we're talking about the upset, but think about on the other end. Holy, I got to extend my hotel room in another couple nights.
Right. Yeah. Somebody call them real quick and re-up me because I thought I was out. Shoot. That's pretty crazy. Getting close to college football, and Utah State will be under interim leadership, apparently, because Blake Anderson has been, well, he had been suspended, but this article has been updated. Utah State intends to fire football head coach Blake Anderson following an investigation into alleged university Title IX policies during spring practice of last year. The school announced earlier today, according to Chris Vanini of The Athletic. So defensive coordinator Nat Dreiling will be the interim head coach, and Anderson is on the outs. Former Arkansas State coach Blake Anderson, who I think was heading into his 4th season at Utah State, apparently made some comments earlier in his tenure saying it's never been more glamorized to be a victim of sexual assault. I can't imagine that helps his situation any, but I'm not sure what specific allegations of Title IX violations there were last year. But again, Utah State, less than 2 months before their season opener, with all intentions of firing 4th-year head coach Blake Anderson. So,
oof. Yeah, not a good situation for obviously the coach. That's a horrific situation for the university from a PR standpoint, and then obviously the team is sitting there saying, "What the heck, man? We were a little over a month from kickoff."
Yeah. So always fun in Stillwater as well. Ollie Gordon, the nation's top returning rusher, was arrested over the weekend for DUI under the age of 21, among other charges. Breathalyzer tested at 0.10 BAC, which is over the 0.08 limit in Oklahoma. DUI under the age of 21, transporting open alcohol containers, failure to maintain his lane, and driving over the speed limit. I would say the latter two or latter three even, or a little lesser offenses. But Ollie Gordon the second in the crosshairs in Oklahoma right now. So no word on what action, if any, Oklahoma State has taken, but you feel like there will be something until that gets cleared up. So something to keep an eye on again as college football approaches.
Yeah, and this is wild to look at, Mo. You know, you Google his name and Heisman, and as recently as 3 days ago, there are articles talking about how he could be, you know, break that barrier, if you will, and be a non-quarterback to win the award. And then obviously the next set of Google searches turn up what we were discussing here. So that's wild to think about. And yeah, they got some big questions in Stillwater now.
Yeah, they do. Let's take a quick break here on Main Street Sports Today. Come back to the Lee Company studio for our final segment of Tuesday, which is Top 5 Tuesday, as Wade and I will knock around our most enjoyable coaches, I guess. So stay tuned when we come back.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another estate auction in White House, Tennessee on Saturday, July 20th at 10 a.m. Join Bluegrass as they sell the Judy Matthews Honeycutt Estate, conveniently located in the scenic Orchard Park subdivision. This beautiful estate includes both real estate and personal property, so everything must go. Everything will be sold on-site and in person, and a 10% buyer's premium is added to the final bid. So bid with confidence with Bluegrass Auction Associates, committed to excellence.
It's the final segment of the day here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. It is Top 5 Tuesday, brought to you by Mid-South 5 Fitness, 2 great locations, one in Franklin, one in Columbia. Whatever shape it is you're in, Thalos Steel will get you in a better one. Find him at steelathletes.com. That's STEEL athletes.com. Thalos Steel, again, Mid-South 5 Fitness, getting you in shape. Our Top 5 Tuesday category today, and here's the thought process that got us here. Last week I took exception to former Texas A&M coach Jim Schlossnagle and the way he left his final press conference as in that role, I guess, before taking the job at Texas. And then we observed the 8 years since the passing of Pat Summitt, former UT women's coach. And so those two things kind of came together for me in coming up with this category. So, coaches that we have particularly enjoyed dealing with. I mean, it's a long list. We're only going to get to 5. So if we don't get to you, don't take this to mean that we didn't enjoy dealing with you.
Yeah, not a diss for anybody.
Unless you know we don't enjoy dealing with you. But and there are a few of those probably. Anyway, Wade, the floor is yours.
Yeah, you mentioned Pat Summitt. She was first on my list, partner, because the 2 times I got to talk to her, I'm not going to choose her in memory of after that, but the 2 times I got to chat with her, man, she made me feel like I was the most important person in the room, and I will never forget that. So it was certainly enjoyable. But with that being said, I'll stay in the realm of basketball. You know, I cut my teeth in radio, and a young radio host in Pulaski, I had the chance to interview a guy that I covered in college as well. Kermit Davis always was fantastic to work with for me. And for a small town radio guy, his first ever gig, Kermit made me feel like I was the biggest guy in the room. And so I'm taking Kermit number 1.
You know, Pat was and is kind of the gold standard. And so, yeah, we will not include her in this, but just know that anybody who had the opportunity to deal with her would have her number one on this list. I'm gonna tell you, he'll get the big head from this, but Kevin Creasy over at Oakland has never been anything but class with me. And even in the rain after getting drubbed by Houston last fall, still took the time. And, you find a lot of folks that can stand up after wins and talk to you. The ones that will, be even-handed with you and be classy with you after disappointments are the ones that really stick with you as journalists. And Kevin Creasy was definitely one of those. He, hasn't lost a lot. So, but yeah, he's my guy. So number two
for me, I'm not just saying this because I was in his wedding, but Matthew Ogeron is the Giles County boys soccer coach. He also coaches the girls program. And kind of like to your point, win, lose, or tie, he's always willing to give you whatever you need. He's always willing to take a chat with you. He's one of my good buds, but I think just taking that out of the equation, he's fantastic to work with. And I know you've dealt with him as well. And he enjoys talking to the media, I think, as much as we enjoy talking with him sometimes. I'm
going to tell you something. Anybody that returns phone calls is always big.
That'll take you a long way, right?
It really will, man. Yeah. So, Orgeron is your number two. My number two is the new guy over at MTSU, Derek Mason. In his, obviously he had to fight a lot at Vanderbilt, but always had a smile on his face, always accommodating, and obviously looking forward to some great things from him over in Murfreesboro. Your number three?
Number three, give me Scott Combs, former Martin Methodist coach. Worked with him a little bit when I was in Clarksville at Austin P, and he's been the same guy the whole way. And talk about a coach that will do anything. He went so far as to help me out with SID stuff when he didn't even have to when he was at Martin Methodist. So Scott Combs, longtime friend of the program, and man, he is enjoyable to deal with, to say the least.
Yeah. My number three, speaking of guys who, even in losses and tough situations, still dealt with you. Vanderbilt's Tim Corbin, the opportunities that I had to work with him in a journalistic setting, he's always been great. Again, so that's my number three.
Up next for me, kind of like Kermit Davis, but Rod Reed at TSU was absolutely fantastic. And every single time I asked him to come on to do a radio interview, he absolutely came on. It didn't matter if they were 2-10 or if they were 10-2. He was willing to take the time to speak to me, and we always had fun. And man, he coached a lot of games and won a lot of ball games, and I wish him nothing but the best. We had some great times.
That's a good call. That's a really good one. I'm going to stay on the North Nashville campus for my number four and go with Teresa Phillips. And she had a lot to deal with, both as women's basketball coach, as AD, and one night as men's basketball coach, and handled it all with nothing but class, and really enjoy every opportunity we have to deal with her. Your fifth and final?
Last up for me, I got to go with our guy. He's our guy, so it could go on either list. But Nick Campbell, former Columbia coach, now current Giles County coach. He's a guy from Lawrence County that loves Giles County now. That's really all that you need to know about that guy. He's fantastic to work with. Anything you want, need, he's there for you. So I got to give a little love to Nick Campbell.
Well deserved. Well deserved. Going back to the high schools just a second. The new baseball coach at Battle Creek, Paul Lamb, has been as good as I've dealt with while I've been in Murray County, and always enjoy every encounter I have with him, and looking forward to what he does at the new school. So that rounds out our Top 5 Tuesday. That rounds out Main Street Sports today. We will see y'all tomorrow at 2 o'clock.